Rifle scopes. This new line features 8 custom-designed reticles for specific applications, as well as a full lifetime warranty on all scopes. Find out more at crimsontrace.com.
Does the gun ban lobby really want to take away your guns? You bet it does, and we have the proof. It's Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. Now, here's Tom.
Hey, welcome back to Gun Talk. Tom Gresham here. One of the areas that I've always been puzzled at is how a population of people who historically has been victim of murder, genocide, persecution can continue to support an idea of not resisting, of not fighting back. It's just one of those things that leaves me scratching my head wondering what's going on. Well, we just spotted a piece in, believe it or not, the Times of Israel, and we're fortunate enough to have the author, David Nabhan, is joining us right now. The article is titled, "The Science of Keeping Jewish Americans Vulnerable." David, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Well, thanks for having me on, Tom. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Absolutely.
Okay, so, and you heard my intro. I mean, I've always wondered, and I have, Jewish members of my family through marriage, and I've never understood what seems, at least to me, to be a fairly widespread feeling throughout the Jewish community of not fighting back, of not having guns for self-defense, whether it's historical going back 2,000 years, or the last 50 years, or the last 100 years, or the last, 4 weeks of synagogues being attacked. This is a group of people who has constantly been under attack and been the subject of genocides. What's the thinking there? Can you help me?
You're not the only one scratching your head, I can assure you. The stats are exactly as you say. 75% of Jewish American electorate support a once sane and sober Democratic Party that's now being led by the likes of the greatest anti-Semites on the planet. Honestly, Keith Ellison, Linda Sarsour, Al Sharpton, Tlaib Omar, Farrakhan. As you point out, my op-ed was pointed out the disturbing fact that the party facilitating the nauseating spate of anti-Semitic attacks you referred to on Jewish Americans across the country is also the party of the gun grabbers who would leave not just Jews, but who would leave all Americans open to criminal elements that are seeking not only to take over the streets of New York, but they're turning San Francisco and dozens of other large American cities into open sewers, basically, where crime and street disorder can breed that sort of impunity. So I agree with you completely. I'm not Jewish myself, and I've been on the air in Israel talking about this matter, and show hosts seem so stunned that they keep asking me how come how could a person who's not Jewish have an interest in this? And my answer is I'm human. I'm a Texan. I'm an American, and so obviously I have the normal interest to side with the law-abiding and God-fearing and gainfully employed against the lawless and the anti-religionist and the powers that would take our guns away from us and leave us in the very place where that poor rabbi was, who was hacked with a machete in his synagogue, as you referenced.
Well, and then after that happened, I did see a little bit of activity on the part of the Jewish community of people saying, maybe we ought to think about getting firearms training. Maybe we ought to think about providing for our own protection. And then it just kind of got quiet again.
Oh, I don't know. I think Jews have had enough, to be honest with you. I have a little bit of. I interact with people online. I have a following, and I talk with good Democrats, good Jewish, real liberals, not the sort that are progressive lunatics, but and you know who I'm speaking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, who we've gone back and forth on this, and I respect them, and they respect me. And they've told me, they brought me up just the other day. I was talking about the Labor Party and referencing them in the same way as the Democrats over here in the United States, and it turns out that the British Labor Party, top to bottom, anti-Semitic from through and through, the Jewish support for that party, which was like for the Jewish American support for the Democrats, it's down to 6%. The shellacking that they took in recent weeks, reflecting that I think Jewish Americans around the world have started to wake up now. The Jewish American electorate here that voted, they've voted solidly 75% for a whole century for the very people that are stabbing them in the back. I don't know how many more episodes of Al Sharpton leading mobs to create pogroms in New York is going to cause them to realize that these are people who do not have their interests at heart.
Well, it's an interesting, and your article is really good. I just want people to, if they can find it, it's called The Science of Keeping Jewish Americans Vulnerable. And you go through a lot of the history. You talk about, a number of genocides, and some genocides were committed with hatchets, with machetes, 800,000 people in Rwanda, because they were told to turn in their guns, and they did turn in their guns, and once they did, here we go. I mean, in fact, I don't know of a single genocide, at least in modern times, the last 200-300 years, that hasn't been preceded by the disarming of the people who are about to be murdered in mass.
Oh, if you're looking for a genocide, that's it. And you don't need to be a historian. The simple way is, just as you said, go look for the laws where a government swept in 1956 in Cambodia, and then, the Khmer Rouge coming in just a decade later and piling up 2 million corpses in the killing field. Or Rwanda, like you said, that they turned in their guns thanks to the gun laws in Rwanda, November '64 and May '79. And the Rwandan genocide was in the early 90s. 800,000 people hacked to death. Same with the Soviets. The first thing they did, Stalin killed 3 million kulaks in the 30s. And in the 20s, the Soviet law outlawed all gun possession except for I was listening to you a little bit before explaining, the difference in firearms. They allowed the smooth-bore shotgun type scatter weapons, mostly fit for, skeet shooting or shooting pheasants, but nothing, gun possession, needless to say, for Eastern Europe and for the Soviet Union, restricted, the real weaponry to the commissars and the communist pioneers and the very people with the boots on the necks of the peoples that they've just disarmed all the way from Albania to eastern Germany. So you're right. If you're looking for a genocide, it's simple. Go look a few years before and see the gun laws where they confiscated everyone's means of self-defense.
But David, you know what happens when you say things like this? People say, "Oh, you're just paranoid. You're just you're parroting the NRA mindset on this thing." Well, I mean, it's just. Actually, we're met with a totally dismissive attitude.
Well, these are people, they're the same people, that's coming from the universities, the same universities where they've given us 57 genders and toxic masculinity and the intersectionality to combat race and patriarchy in math and physics. The people who just declared mathematics racist in Seattle. These are the people, and the ones that are telling us the end of the world is going to be next Tuesday, the climate hysterics. Sure. These are that's the same group of people who has the same topsy-turvy, upside-down logic where they're telling you the best way to prevent yourself and your family from being killed is to throw your guns away and put your hands in the air and smile at your assaulters. And like I said with the Jewish Americans, how many times this can be peddled to the same, this malarkey can be peddled to the same electorate, to the same, to we Americans who have heard this baloney for the last, how long have they been peddling this? 4 or 5 decades? They've been trying to grab they've been
absolutely, yeah,
at least that long.
At least that long. So one of the things I'm thinking here is, and I know people are saying, well, why are you guys talking about this? Well, in the U.S., specifically in the U.S., the Jewish American voting bloc is a large voting bloc. It has largely followed the Democrat Party, even though the Democrat Party is leading them off the ledge like lemmings. And the Democrat Party is the one that turns around and tells them, first of all, it's anti-Semitic, but also it is, they're telling them, you should not have guns for your own protection, even though you are a highly targeted group of people. People want to kill you. They outright say, our plan is to kill you. And so I'm
simply
wondering
astounding.
If the Jewish Americans wake up and reject that, does that, and this gets into the big picture, does that represent a possible shift in politics in America?
I hope so. And look, you can probably tell from my, speaking with me for a few moments that I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. But I'm not here to, to promote the Republican Party or Donald Trump. If somebody doesn't like the Republicans, fine. If you don't like Donald Trump, that's okay too. All I'm saying is, and I agree with you, if you're a God-fearing, law-abiding, gainfully employed, scholastically minded, patriotic Jewish American, and we're talking about Jews, so we'll just leave it right there. Mm-hmm. You really need to pick up a mirror and take a good look at yourself and those people that you're rubbing elbows with in a lawless, anti-religionist, country-hating, nihilistic, suicidal party that is really and truly anti-Semitic from top to bottom. So there really isn't much choice. This is not me saying, go register to become a Republican and vote for Donald Trump next year. It's saying the party that you're with, they don't like you. Actually, they despise you, and they despise Judaism, and they despise all the traditions and all the good things that have made Judaism, a wonderful thing on the planet for the last, for millennia. Mm-hmm. And it's time to pick another party, or form your own party, or don't vote. But to like you say, to follow the Democrats off the cliff up ahead, not smart.
Not smart at all. David Nabhan, thank you so much. It's Nabhan. You can find him online. How else do people find your work, David?
Simplest way, go to www.earthquakepredictors.com. I'm a science writer for both Newsmax and the Times of Israel, but all my interviews and stuff are on my website, and that's at earthquakepredictors.com. I'm a science writer and have written 4 books in seismology, and all there. That's the easiest way to grab any of my stuff.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate it.
Hey, I do appreciate you having me on very much. My pleasure.
Absolutely. You take care. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, stuff to think about. All right, open lines for you right now. 866-TALK-GUN. Why would a group of people who has been historically targeted continue to say we're not going to protect ourselves? I don't understand it. And to David's point, I think maybe that's changing. I know it certainly has been changing. We've talked about this before with women in America saying, you know what, we're just not going to put up with it anymore. If you got to that point, if somehow you reach that point where you say, I'm going to take care of myself, I'm not going to depend upon the authorities to do it, how did you get there? What happened in your life? What was the thought process? I would love to know the story. 866-TALK-GUN.
Tactical professionals who put their lives on the line every day depend on Surefire. Since 1979, Surefire has designed, machined, and assembled the finest flashlights, weapon-mounted lights, hearing protection, and suppressors right here in the U.S. Surefire, offering a best-in-class warranty and customer service, and used by more military special operations, SWAT teams, and hard-use end users than any other brand. Surefire, American-built, American-strong. Visit Surefire.com. That's Surefire.com.
Hi, this is Tom Gresham from Gun Talk. America is losing critical wildlife habitat at a rate of 1 football field every hour. It's happening on the Louisiana coast, but it's critical to all sportsmen and conservationists. These precious wetlands provide winter habitat for more than 10 million ducks and geese annually, waterfowl that migrate north through dozens of states. Don't shrug it off. Get involved. You can help. Visit vanishingparadise.org.
It's the Bill of Rights, not the Bill of Needs. I'm Alan Gottlieb, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation. When someone says we don't need that kind of gun, remind them the Founding Fathers determined what rights our Constitution should protect. There's a world of difference between rights and needs. It is not the function of government to tell us what we need or what we don't. Certainly no one needs an assault rifle or a Saturday Night Special, or for that matter, no one needs a Corvette with a high-capacity horsepower engine capable of speeds to 150 miles per hour. But in the hands of honest, responsible individuals, we have the right of choice. We have the right to read books others don't like. We have the right to listen to any radio program we choose. We have the right to dress the way we want to. We also have the right to own firearms of our choice. So the next time someone tells you you don't need something, tell them it's the Bill of Rights, not the Bill of Needs. Join the Second Amendment Foundation today so that this message and our Bill of Rights might live. Call 425-454-7012. That's 425-454-7012.
Trouble is unpredictable. It shows up without warning. It rears its ugly head when and where you least expect it. Trouble has no conscience, no regrets, no remorse. Be prepared and protected with the MC1 SC subcompact 9mm pistol by Mossberg. Yes, Mossberg, the company trusted by police and military for decades. The MC1 SC subcompact 9mm pistol. Small, powerful, snag-free. Always with you. Available with night sights or laser. Mossberg.com.
Oh, you'll love this. Virginia, of course, is kind of where a lot of things are happening right now after the Democrats took control of the legislature and the governor's mansion. And, of course, they're pushing through all these gun control laws. A Virginia state senator called Second Amendment supporters little kids at a public meeting. There was a hot mic. He didn't know it was on. Senator Dave Marsden, who supports Democratic candidate Pete Buttigieg, he is an advocate. I'm reading this, let's see, what is this? Oh, yeah, news story here. It says, advocate for proposed gun control legislation, and it's part of the Democratic majority in the Virginia General Assembly. Instead of apologizing for the insensitive remarks, Marsden called Second Amendment supporters, quote, mentally ill in a letter he sent following the meeting. Quote, let's see here. Too many of your members and other 2A supporters appear to have mental health issues. A significant number of these things were indicative of very unstable people, and this is worrisome, said Marsden. The responses I was getting were from people who showed signs of having mental health difficulties. I have said for a long time that the gun ban lobby, they call themselves gun control people, although they gave up on that because they realized that people don't want gun control, so now they call themselves gun safety people, although they've never taught a gun safety lesson in their lives. The gun ban lobby really doesn't have a problem with guns. And I think a lot of the folks on our side really lose sight of that and waste enormous amount of effort talking about, well, you know, there's nothing wrong with guns. You can lay a gun on the table. It won't do anything. It won't jump up. I don't know why you... They don't care about guns. Just stop. You just make a noise. It's not helping. They hate you. They don't hate guns. They hate you. They think you are mentally ill. They think we are little kids. And every once in a while, they'll actually say it out loud, as this one did. They truly do think that we are subhuman. I'm not making this up. I'm not overstating it. This is not hyperbole. They think we need help. We need direction. We can't possibly run our own lives. And because they are intellectually superior, it is up to them to fix this. They don't understand the very concept of providing your own protection. That is just so far into them, they can't even understand what you're talking about. But the core of it, and this is the thing, you have to understand this to understand what's going on here. The core of it is that they don't hate guns, they hate you, the gun owner. Man or woman, doesn't matter. They think you are less than. They think that you are intellectually inferior. And they truly think you are somewhere lower on the evolutionary scale. I'm not making this up, okay? Sorry, I had to cough there. All right, let's go to line 3. Frank's with us out of Alaska. Hey, Frank, you're on Gun Talk. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Tom. I've called before, and I've mentioned to you before that I'm Jewish and that I love firearms of all types.
Uh-huh.
I have loved firearms since I was a little kid. But in my teenage years, I had begun to understand the whole thing about Nazis and Jews and genocide. And my father, I always knew, had escaped from Austria, but the rest of his entire family, aunts, uncles, cousins, babies, were murdered by the Nazis. And I asked him one day, Dad, why didn't you guys shoot the Nazis when they came to your front door? And his answer was very simple. Jews were not allowed to own guns in Germany or Austria. And
Frank, you make an interesting point here. I want to just make sure people understood. It wasn't that people weren't allowed to own guns. Jews were not allowed to own guns. And gee, why would that be? Because there was a plan to murder millions of Jews, and they can't do that if you had guns for protection, if the Jews had guns for protection. So they said, first we have to disarm them before we can murder them.
My thoughts were, if they killed, let's just use the number 6 million of us, what if each of us had killed 1 million or 1 Germans?
You know, it's funny you say that. I've said for years, what if, and I understand, they say, well, you can't kill them all. Okay, great. If they send 6 people to round up your family, if you shoot one of them, they kill all of you. But if that happens every time, you know, and I know people say, well, you know, we didn't know where they were going to take us, thought we were just being taken to camps. We didn't know it was an extermination camp and all the rest of it. Yeah, but now we know. And I guess, you know, now we know. And for those, and I'm just going to say this, okay, and it's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. For those politicians in Virginia, when you talk about taking guns away from people, you're seeing one thing. We are seeing the Holocaust in Germany. We are seeing people being rounded up to be murdered. And we know that this gun confiscation leads to that. You cannot have that without a gun confiscation. And we know that if you let it happen, there's no point in the future where you can undo that thing. And Frank, thank you for your call. And so my point to the politicians in Virginia is, you may think this is mentally ill. We are seeing a move that to us looks very much like the disarmament of the Jews. And a lot of us have said, you know what? That's not going to happen here. And there is no limit to what a lot of people are telling me will do to prevent that. Yes, it makes people nervous. But yes, this is the reality.
What's so hard to understand about shall not be infringed? Here's Tom.
Yeah, it seems kind of simple. Shall not be infringed. Here you go. 866-TALK-GUN will get you in here. Let's see. Brian's called in from Huntsville on line 5. Hey, Brian, what you got there?
Well, what I got is something I've had for a while from my from my aunt, and that I got, which is a Colt it's a Colt Woodsman, but before it was called the Woodsman, and I had it cleaned up. It came out of her estate, and it was locked, freezed, and everything else. But I'm wondering what I need to fire out of that at the moment, because they scoped it, and everything looks beautiful on the thing. And so you were talking about semi-automatics being over 100 years old, and this thing hit 100 last year.
Okay, yeah, the Colt Woodsman originally wasn't called the Woodsman until, I think, like 27, but it was introduced in 1915. It's a John Browning design with some tweaks done by the Colt people. First of all, let me ask you a question. I don't know if you're interested in it, but, you know, Colt will actually issue you a factory letter. If you get them the information on that gun, and they can give you a letter that tells you when it was made and the details of it, you can keep that with the gun. That would be very cool to have.
I had not considered that. I'd heard of you talk of similar things in the past, but it did not even occur to me.
Yeah, so, because this is a 100-year-old gun.
And then, okay, now, but it's worn. I mean, but it's in great condition. But it's
there's no reason not to shoot it. You know what I would do? I would shoot that using standard velocity 22 rimfire ammo, not high velocity. You can find target loads that are standard velocity. If you use standard velocity ammo and it does not feed well, then it might need the extra energy of the high velocity ammo, which would be a little faster than the speed of sound, 1,100 feet per second. But I would start with standard velocity ammo, but I don't think there's any reason in the world not to shoot that gun.
Well, it should be standard velocity based on the year that it was made and everything. It should be able to chamber and recharge that round on that, shouldn't it, sir?
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, that's why I said I would start with that. And as long as the gun is cleaned and lubed, it should work just fine. I mean, that's a cool... I know there are people right now saying, don't shoot it, it's a collector's item, yada, yada. You know what? That's a personal choice. If you want to shoot it, I would say shoot it.
I got to fire it at least once. That's in my blood.
I like that. You know, I would shoot a magazine through it just because, and then clean it up really well and put it away. And I would encourage you to go ahead and contact Colt to get the factory letter. That would be really neat. Now, what is your plan for that gun, for the future of that gun?
I have no idea. I've only got so many years left in my life, so...
Is there anybody in your family
with it somewhere?
Is there anybody in your family who might be interested in it?
No, perhaps one of my daughters.
There you go. That's where. Now, I would say this: while you have all your faculties, write down the story of where you got it, who had it, as far back as you can track it. Any pictures you have of those people, put them with the factory letter. Now, it's not just a gun. Now it's a family story.
It's an heirloom.
Yep, exactly right. That is very cool. I'm excited for you, man. That's neat.
Thank you.
All right. Well, good luck with it. I thank you for the call, sir. Let's see here. Gary, Mountain Home, Arkansas, line 1. Hey, Gary, welcome to Gun Talk. Oh, is Gary there? Hey, Gary, you there?
Hey, Tom.
There he is.
I saw a copy of a UN memo, and I don't know if it was fraudulent or real, but it was posted on December the 26th, and it's good through the February the 8th. But they're asking people to apply for a peacekeeper's job to confiscate weapons and control civil disobedience in New York City. Had you heard anything about that?
Yes. I hear about that every year for the last 30 years. It is as much nonsense now as it was 30 years ago.
Gotcha.
But here's the deal. People love a good conspiracy theory. And it's one of those weird deals where if you say, well, prove it, they say, well, you can't prove it because it's all secret. So the fact that you can't prove it actually makes it more real. And then they just get all wrapped around the axle in this violent, whirling, dervish thing of conspiracy theory, and it must be true because there's no evidence of it. And you just go, well, if you've been around as long as I have, you're going, yeah, I mean, I'm not kidding you, people. I saw this kind of stuff 30 years ago. I didn't believe it then. I don't believe it now. And to that, a lot of people say, well, Tom, you're just living in a cloud. You're not paying attention. You don't really know what's going on. Okay, I'll go with that. But I would say my thoughts on it are just no. You got to make up your own mind on it. But, man, I just think no. All right. I don't know if that helps, Gary, but I appreciate the call, sir. Mark, don't go anywhere. When we come back, I want to get your gun show report. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and we'll actually have more lines available for you right now. 866-TALK-GUN. Have you been to a gun show? Did you ever buy anything at a gun show? What's the best deal, best purchase you ever made at a gun show? Are there actually good deals to be had? I don't know. 866-TALK-GUN.
For 25 years, Crimson Trace has led the industry in laser and light technology and customer service. Now, Crimson Trace is proud to offer electronic sights and rifle scopes for tactical, target, and hunting applications, with the same Crimson Trace offer of free batteries for life on all products. The new rifle scope line is also backed by an unconditional lifetime warranty from the brand that you have trusted for over 2 decades. Find out more at crimsontrace.com.
Since 1937, Ducks Unlimited has led the charge on wetlands and waterfowl conservation. wetlands reduce the effects of flooding and recharge our drinking water. But perhaps most importantly, they allow us to experience what makes the outdoors so great. Band together to rescue our wetlands.
Mental health and guns. At Walk the Talk America, we are working with both the mental health community and the gun industry. Created by a gun industry veteran, Walk the Talk America seeks to raise awareness and create change through suicide prevention and firearm safety without legislation. We strive to eliminate the prejudice that firearms and mental health face. For more information and to support Walk the Talk America, please visit walkthetalkamerica.org.
The Smith & Wesson M&P 380 Shield Easy pistol revolutionized personal protection with its easy-to-use design. Now, enter the M&P Shield Easy in 9mm. Built for personal and home protection, the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Shield Easy pistol features the same easy-to-rack, easy-to-load, and easy-to-shoot design of the M&P Shield Easy series. Available at a retailer near you. Find out more at smith-wesson.com.
All right, time for Range Reports. Mark's with us out of Hampton, Virginia, line 3. Hey, Mark, you went to a gun show.
Yes, sir. I went today. I usually volunteer at the table with the VCDL. I didn't today, but I was there. We had over 300 new members join, and we usually don't ever get anywhere near that many.
Wow.
Even in a couple of years' time. You usually only get 5 to 8 a show, and we have 4 or 5 shows a year, so... it was jammed. They said yesterday was so packed. Line was way out the door. People were carrying carts of ammo and stuff out. A lot of guys were sold out of ammo. The guns were flying off. Even gun cases. The one guy I bought a case from had tactical cases, and he said he had stacks of them, and he said he's got nothing left. A lot of first-time gun buyers in there.
All right, you're in Virginia. We've been talking about Virginia. What's going on there? What's the mood?
Everybody's kind of up in arms. They're kind of pissed off about it, and they're wanting to do something and get active and get involved. A lot of people are buying guns to try to head off anything of grandfathering or any kind of deal that any possibility that something could go down and they would be barred from purchase or whatever. It's like when Obama got elected, everybody kind of got off the fence and finally made the decision, and they weren't really worried, but if you tell me I'm not going to be able to have it, well, I'm going to go buy it so I can.
I'm also encouraged that so many people are joining the Virginia Citizens Defense League, VCDL, because what that tells me is that they're willing to get involved politically, to get active, and not just go out and buy guns and hoard guns and ammo, but they're actually trying to fight to reverse this or stop it.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, I've been to several of the city council meetings around here in the counties for the Second Amendment rallies or the resolutions. And unfortunately, in Hampton and in the countering city, Newport News, the turnout wasn't that great, especially compared to the counties, because I went to a county meeting before Christmas, and it's a big land area, but not a lot of people, and they probably had 600-700 plus people show up.
Wow.
And get to be involved. And they even had people driving from like 4 hours away to come support that. But most of them were county residents. So it's in a lot of areas it has gotten people finally off their backside and getting them involved. And hopefully they will stay involved.
Well, I sure hope so. Look, appreciate the range report. In this case, they got the gun show report. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Gene's with us on line 5. Hey, Gene. Conservative Jew, it says here. Is that you? Gene's listening on. He's listening to the radio on the phone. Okay. Tell you what, we'll go back to Gene in just a second. Let's talk to Kitty in Casper, Wyoming on line 1. Hey, Kitty, you're on Gun Talk. How are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm great. You go to a gun show?
I did, here in Casper at the fairgrounds.
Yes.
My husband drugged me there, and he goes, oh, come on, there's stuff there for girls. And I said, well, okay, I'll go. And so we walked around, and then I started talking to this guy, and he had some nice handguns there, and and I had been shooting a little bit at the indoor range here in Casper, and I thought, I think it's time for me to have a handgun.
Okay.
And so I was looking at some Ruger and 9mm, and I was looking at I actually got this Walther PK 380.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really like the feel of it in my hand. I can't wait to get out to the range and shoot today, or not today. I'm going to go tomorrow because it's going to be too crowded.
So that's what you got? You got the Walther 380?
Yeah.
That's a very nice gun, and I agree with you. When you pick it up and put it in your hand, you just go, wow, they did a great job with the ergonomics. That feels good.
Yeah, it really is a sweet little gun. And my husband, I got it, the little case and everything with all the doodads in the case, and he picked it up to go to the car, and he goes, is that gun in there?
Yeah, it's that lightweight.
It's very lightweight, so it's, and I'm real pleased with that. So
Did you get some ammo?
Yeah, the girls do go to the gun shows, and they do buy guns.
Well, good deal. Look, I appreciate the range report. Thank you very much. Good luck with that. Okay, we do have Gene back here on line 5 out of Jacksonville, Oregon. Hey, Gene, you're up.
Thanks, Tom. Tom, people always wonder why have traditionally most Jews voted Democratic Party?
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't understand that it's rooted in the history of the Jewish people, and their distrust of right-wing governments, going back to the Middle Ages, going back to the monarchies, going back to the Inquisition in the 16th century in Spain, going back to they being relegated as second-class citizens in most of the countries of Europe during the Middle Ages, and
well, let me ask you a question. How did you become a conservative Jew then?
Well, because I'm 77 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up I'm a second-generation Jew, and when I was growing up in the 40s and 50s, I grew up in what I referred to as the siege mentality. All of my relatives, many of who had been killed in the Holocaust, my family came from Russia in the late 19th century to early 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
The tyranny of the Tsar. So what you had was an ingrained distrust of right-wing governments.
Okay.
Now this was exacerbated starting with the Wilson administration.
All right, Gene, I'm going to run out of time here, so I'm going to have to just ask you, what changed for you? How did you become conservative?
Okay. But let me just mention two things, and I will answer what changed for me. The opposition to Republicans. When I was growing up,
Gene, I'm going to have to ask you to hold on here. I've got a hard break coming. The music's going to play. Don't go anywhere. I do want to get the answer to the question, okay? But this thing is going to roll over both of us if I don't get us to quit. So just hold your thought. We're going to come back. This is fascinating to me, I got to tell you. Our number here is 866-TALK-GUN. If you'd like to be a part of this, by all means, give me a holler. Have you been to a gun show? Did you buy anything? Did you get a good deal? 866-TALK-GUN. All right, back with the 866-TALK-GUN. We're talking with Gene out of Jacksonville, Oregon. He calls himself a conservative Jew and just describing how he got to that point. Go ahead, Gene.
Tom, I'll make it short and sweet. I know there's time constraints. Most American Jews of my age, I'm 77, grew up in a family which had what I refer to as a siege mentality. It's us against the Gentiles. It's us against the Republicans. Mm-hmm. And it was based on a hatred of what was imbued in us. That the Republicans stood for anti-Semitism, the evangelicals. It was us against them. What's happening now, because some succeeding Jewish generations are not going up with that hatred, and we're starting to think. And what you're finding is exactly what happened to me. Is that you take a look, you start using your brains rather than your emotions. Most Jews, particularly the ones in Hollywood, particularly the ones that of my generation, it's a hatred of Trump. It's a hatred of the right. It's a hatred. It's not based on intellect. But what's happening is what's happening in the Jewish community today is exactly what's happening in the black community. More and more of us are throwing off the knee-jerk reaction of our families and of our relatives, and we're taking a look at the arguments. And what you're going to find in that 2020 election is that more and more blacks, more and more Jews are going to be voting for Trump. And what you're going to find is Jews, like many blacks, there's a cultural thing about expressing anything other than what's the traditional liberal background.
And Gene, I've got to stop it there. I've got to get out of here. Look, I appreciate your call. I appreciate your thoughts on this. I've got to run down to Mark in Farmington, New Mexico on line 3 because, Mark, I want you to get this information out. You got a rally coming up in New Mexico, right? Let's see. We got Mark on 3? Evidently not. Okay, well, in Santa Fe, they got a rally coming up on the 31st at the Capitol. They got red flag laws going in there. It's a mess right there, so you need to be involved in that, okay? Let's see. What do we got? We got a minute and a half left, Jim? All right, Patrick, Fort Smith, Arkansas, line 1. Hey, Patrick, what'd you get at this gun show?
Tom, it's a pleasure to talk to you again. Can you hear me?
I got you. You got 60 seconds, not a minute more.
Right, I got it. You asked about great buys at the gun show. For years, I had wanted a carbine in .45 ACP, and I found a Marlin Camp 45 in .45 ACP, manufactured in 1986 in an unfired condition.
Oh, my gosh. What a steal. Did you get a good deal on it?
It was a little high, but the funny thing is the guy asked me for $800. And I ran home, grabbed 8 $100 bills, and ran right back to the gun show and walked up and handed it to him. And he looked at me with this shocked look on his face because I think he was expecting an argument on the price.
You know, you're a smart man because when you find the deal like that isn't made anymore and you can live with the price, buy it. Don't haggle because you're going to lose it, all right? Hey, if you want to be part of the after show, call me right now, 866-TALK-GUN. In the meantime, commit yourself to the Second Amendment. Get into the fight. It's important. I mean, they're doing it in Virginia, and if you're in Virginia, make the commitment to go to these rallies that are coming up. Stay informed. Stay involved. It's as simple as that. Be careful out there. Watch your 6. Get some more shooting in this week.